I was about to throw Mike Mackian up on stage, but he ran away very, very quickly. Because he's like, dude, I'm a photographer. That's, because I don't really want to get up on stage and speak. And I was like, okay, good point. We have not one, but two auditions that we will be starting the evening off with. I always have a hard time pronouncing your last name, which is why we just simply refer to you as Liz T. I knew that Liz and I were going to get along famously. She is, among other things, a member of the Nebraska Steampunk Society, and like one of the first times I met Liz, I was just kind of sitting around in a coffee shop with some of the other members, and all of a sudden this very tall, cute girl decides to just plop herself down in her lap and say, "Hi, how are you?" I'm like, "Oh, you're my kind of girl." Because you know me, I'll just be sitting here looking at you all day, and you just beat me to it. You had the corset on and the stacking. And,
I thought you had a corset on.
well, yeah, but I usually wear it under the shirt, and because I'm just kind of a meager A cup, I've just got to push them up somewhat, and Yeah, pretty much. So anyway, let's begin the evening with Liz T.
I don't suck, I blow. Yeah. This is actually like my second audition. Apparently the first one was very cut short, and they were like, "Oh, you need to audition more." And I'm like, "Oh man, my cats aren't good enough to get me in here?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh." And they're like, "Oh, hey, you should probably talk about something other than your cats." And I'm like, "But
I need more pussy."
that's my exact thoughts. I'm like, "But I love pussy." Since Dave started it off, there's a couple scenarios that Dave and I have actually been in before, and one of my personal favorites was he actually introduced me to the bondage world. Go figure. A woman who is 22 had never even thought of, "Oh, hey, I've always wanted to be tied up and have my photo taken." And he's like, "Hey, Liz, you're into all this kinky stuff." I'm like, "I am?" And he's like, "Yeah, how would you like to be tied up or tie other people up?" And I'm like, "I would." And that night was a very magical night because at the end of the night, not only did I have one female tying me up, I also had a male. And I was so happy, and I was so glad I got introduced to bondage that I almost cried. And that is also how I met my wife, Marlo. There was lollipops and rainbows.
Where were the lollipops, DJ?
Well, first they started in my mouth.
I got arrested for that once.
So I'll admit it right now, I am slightly nervous. I'm not one on stage. I just don't do stage very well. And that is why my father was actually the one who broke me of my stage wanting. I used to want to be an actor. I wanted to be a performer. And then my dad was like, "You ramble too much." And I'm like, "What?" So he would literally sit in the middle of the audience and just do this. I'd be like, "I'm saying my lines. It's Shakespeare." So I'm actually, as much as I would like to say, "Hey Dad, come see me," I think the reason he's actually not here tonight, as well as my stepmom, heaven forbid they show up to something that they actually met at, because they met and then married at a poetry reading club. I think the reason I'm glad he's not here is because I know he'd be sitting in the front row looking at me going, I'd be like, "Seriously? This is a ramble. This is supposed to," no, and like, "Thanks." Time. "Oh, it's a freckle pasta hair. Should I go on?" So there is one thing I wanted to rant about tonight, and last time I did love, but it was my love for cats. This night is actually going to be love as well. I'm sorry, it's the only thing I can think of to ramble about. It's the only thing I can think of that other people will relate to in my life. Because yes, there is a small crowd here, but I'm sure very few of them want to actually get tied up in a pose like this.
If you've got enough to leave, I'm game.
I did not just flash Jessica. No.
Why not?
Anyways, wait, where's the camera? So first of all, so I start this all off with a very small rant, and I'd actually like to know if there's any other women or men in the audience who can relate to this, besides the person I'm talking about. So, it's not you, baby. Not this time. So, this one time, me and my boyfriend, we're sitting in the shower, and we're starting to get really hot and heavy. And we're sitting there, and it's getting really, really hot, and it's all steamy, and it's wet, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Hey, Liz." And I'm like, "Yeah?" He's like, "Can you do this?" And I said, "No, how do you do?" And you're like, what? And so for 20 minutes, literally, we stood there and we all over that shower. It was amazing.
Is that a euphemism?
No.
This is why we're friends.
Literally. You want to know how to do it, baby? Stick your finger in my mouth.
But I know where it's been.
I could make it go other places. So yeah, that was dedicated to my sex life. And that is literally why we never have sex anymore. So, on a more serious note, because everyone likes a joke and then seriousness, I have a very serious declaration of love for said man, who probably won't even recognize this is actually for him and will probably just drink his alcohol and be like, "What's going on? Where am I? Who are these people?" Sip. This actually took me over 3 months to write. I will start off saying that it started out as an angsty thing. I was very drunk at the time. Very drunk. My cats hated me. That's how drunk I was. And if you don't know my cats, they're the kind who are like, "I'm gay. Love me." And I'm like, "Okay, you're only 19, whatever." You're legal in Nebraska. I know, and he's 19. He's legal. Anyways, so this started. Stop it. Okay. This started out as angsty, so you'll have to forgive me. I also get very shaky when I hold things, which is why I don't need that's why I need a stand. Because right now I'm like,
You can't afford one.
Where's my...
Yeah, listen.
Yeah, Mikey, get over
I
here.
don't fucking shake at all.
Marlo, get over here. Hold my paper.
And hers isn't the DTs.
On your knees.
You asked me. Are you gonna
Bitch,
do it?
please. Are you pretty? On your knees. Never mind. Oh, mistress, will you please get on your knees?
That's not how that works either.
Drink your alcohol and hold my paper. All right. So this is called Drunken Spiel number 1. And it'll probably be the only one. Hold your alcohol in one hand and the paper in the other. Thank you. Okay. The things we say out of anger are often the most hurtful words we can say. The words we speak out of fear make me wish you'd only stay. Our future depends on our past. Our past isn't always a pretty one. There have always been ups and downs. More importantly, there's been more downs than up. We've moved past that, we've moved on, however the hurt still rings strong. Sometimes I lie awake wondering if only you truly wanted to be with me. Even though day after day you remind me, I'll stay awake all through the night just to hear you in the morning light. I want to know if you want to be with me. Just one word and you make my dreams come true. 2 words, making my fears vanish from the day before. 3 words, and our past seems mended, fixed along the slow-lining cracks and mended up into an imperfect ball I can hold and love on. We fight. I know I'm not perfect, and neither are you. I guess that's something I'll just have to get used to. Sometimes our fights make me cry. I close my eyes and pretend that never happened, that words were never spoken, and that it'll all just vanish. All my insecurities happen at once, and our past becomes so clear. Make our ball whole once more, but I can't. And I need help. It's not something I can do alone. You know that. I know that. At the end of the night or day, those 3 small words are said, and all my insecurities are gone. Those words mend our cracks and help us form our bond. Tilt it.
You want me to stand on this side?
Do it. You are my night and day, my moon and stars. When you are mad at me, I feel like my world will crumble apart. When you are with me, I know everything will be all right. It's 3 small words that keep me through the night. I know all this won't mean much to you, or at least you won't show that it does. Just know our 3 small words are special between us. I'll treasure them each time we say them. Keep them close in my times of need, just in hope you'll never leave. Fishman, you're one of a kind. Fishman, I hope someday you'll be mine. With the words I write, with what I speak, all of this is an essence of me. Take it as you will, but this is all for you. Our 3 small words are always a treasured memory. Wait, I totally meant to do that. Someday you'll realize the countless times I have done so, and someday you'll realize I'll put it all on the line just for you to smile. With the stars and the moon aligned correctly, you'll finally see that our 3 small words literally mean the world to me. Kyle, will you be mine? Let me say our softly spoken words aloud so that everyone can hear. Let me yell them so everyone knows to back off. I'm standing right here. Someday you'll finally see the other girls' glances and I hope to see your softly spoken words ring clear. 3 small words hold us together. Those 3 small words keep us near. Kyle, I love tacos. Really, I don't understand why no one understands that. Doesn't everyone love comedy? I'd also like to point out and possibly end this for the night, since there are other people behind me and I'm probably taking way too long anyways, that the same man who I just wrote that for, on the way here, it's like, okay, we need to hurry. The reason I was late was because he decided I was not allowed to come up here naked. I had to wear clothing.
That's bullshit!
See, I told him you would say that. So I had to get dressed. And I was like, oh, hey, by the way, I invited Eva. Eva is a very nice friend, as well as JoJo. And he goes, oh, which Eva? And I said, well, I only know 2, and we both know one won't show up, so the other Eva. And he goes, oh, which Eva? And I said, go fuck yourself. And so he proceeded to take off his pants in my car on the way here, and I looked at him and I said, seriously? In my car? And with that, I am done. Thank you.
Thanks for letting him come naked.
Thank you. I'll be naked next time.
Thank God. Go,
I have a great story about your guy, and you were there, but
You're more than welcome to tell it.
yeah, I was doing a photo shoot with Liz and another lady, and every now and again a photo shoot gets completely out of hand, and sometimes in the best sort of way.
Oh,
Yeah, and so things were getting out of hand, and I'm looking over, and there he is sitting in the corner, just busily staring at his phone. I'm just like, man, whatever it is, it's got to be pretty heavy. Because I'm sitting there, and by this point in time, things have gotten so completely out of hand that I have basically set my camera aside and let them have some personal time. And as I'm making that decision, he literally leaps up out of his chair and goes, "New high score!" I'm like, oh my God.
That's priorities.
That's having your priorities. I won't say straight, but definitely running at 45 degrees to anybody else's. And so with that, I said we had 2 auditions. Lauren, you have the prettiest dreads.
Thank you.
Yay. She has auditioned for us before. We're sending her up here again. Well, actually, Liz had auditioned before, and we sent her up here again.
I'm just gonna audition.
An audition.
Every
You just basically decided I'm not really going to be a member. I'm just going to go with the whole audition clause thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that works.
Every time I come here, oh, we have a new audition.
Everybody's like, we saw her last week. What?
She's talking about dicks.
Well, that's, yeah. And what, Tuesday? Okay, so let me turn the mic over to Lauren.
Wow, I haven't even started speaking yet and I'm getting applause. That's
That was
awesome! They took 4 or 7 hours the first time and 4 hours the second time. So you should be applauding Connor, not me. Okay, first I have to give credit to My Chick Bad by Ludacris, Adventure Time, and my son. This piece is called Bleached Assholes, Drunken Moments, and 3-Year-Olds. I'm like a sour starburst, a juicy contradiction. I can be loud and in your face. Road rage like a motherfucker. Get the fuck out of my way. Learn how to fucking drive. Move, bitch, or I'll fucking hit you. Cursing like a sailor in the middle of July. Abrasive, rough, like an SOS pet, and still, I get my way each and every time. I never back down. I will stand my ground. If you cross me, hell will pay. I'm a red-headed Viking Wiccan, as crazy as that sounds. One wrong move, you will be destroyed. Vindictive schemes, punching walls, and bowling balls. You're a raging bag of dicks. Stay the fuck out of my way. Creating my own sayings and making them true. Cheddarphile, an unnatural love for cheese, and not just any cheese, cheddar cheese. Hold on, it locked on me. I drink wine from a cup, not a stemmed glass. Who are you, Miss Sands? Drinking out of cups. Alcohol makes me all warm and fuzzy inside, and Hannah with, so does a bear raping you. I'm quiet and subdued as long as there's nicotine and chocolate nearby. I break glow sticks apart, a cheap way to bleach your anus. I smoke birthday candles when I can't find cigarettes. I stare at drag queen butts and hit my eye on my alcoholic beverage in the process. Intimidating 300-pound men with words of, I will flatten you! Timid and scared as a mouse hiding in a corner. Abusive ex, broken nose, protection orders, new phones, and near-death experiences. Did not think I would survive, but I came out on the other side. Running scared, running blind. A 4-year-old right behind. Devoted wife and mother is what I became. Long sleepless nights, full of teethings, feedings, being sick, and nightmares. Every minute worth it all. Through it all, I came out on the other side. Broken and healing, it was all worth it. Now I have a handsome prince and an amazing son at my side. I'm blunt, bitchy, and hyper. 16 ounces of espresso coursing through my veins. I feel like dancing, or running, or sprinting, or bouncing, or riding a horse. Brain overload. Energy out my wazoo. I said wazoo. That rhymes with kazoo. My son Nicholas says when talking about who I am, Mommy is feisty, so frosty I could eat her. Not afraid of conflicts or fights, I will come out swinging like Tiger Woods' wife. You smell like a dick that hasn't been washed in years. The frosty edge, the alluring sweet smile, the pretend innocence that is perceived. Like screaming for silence, I am a contradiction by name, a juicy contradiction. With friends who are crazier than a box of sticks. Sticks aren't crazy. They are when they get all tangled up. Crab hopping down the streets, beercades, and beer cats. Crazy old ladies who tell jokes for $1 and tell you they will make you shit your pants. 3-year-olds say the darndest things. How old is this baby? He's 1, buddy. Oh, that's young. 25 is old. And then you die. Bama is 55. Are you gonna die now? Mommy has a penis. No, Mommy has a vagina. Oh, I want a vagina on my penis, but it went away when my blister popped. The rationality they have is at an all-time high. If I want a present, you give me a present. If not, you give $1 to Mommy, Daddy, or Bama. When watching basketball, the good guys are white and the bad guys are black. Nicholas, why didn't you wake Mommy up? 'Cause I didn't have to go potty, Mommy. Hey, Bama, if you don't shower, do you know what happens? Your skin melts off and you become a skeleton. When you brush your hair and you're 3, you look like a genius. You're not a genius. You're not a genius. Saying things like I touched Wee Willie Winky is a serious thing, unless it's a key on a toy piano. He gets so many ladies, he needs coupons for them. What's the coupon for, buddy? It's for the ladies. They have to live with us. Sienna is not my girlfriend anymore. Jordan is. But she's mean to you. She is my girlfriend. She is 4. He looks to me for guidance, for support. I am his role model. His way of learning to be a man. You know what's gonna happen to my chin? It's gonna get a beard, and you're gonna have to touch it. Just like me, he says what's on his mind, no matter how it makes someone feel. We are a family of sour starbursts, all of us our own juicy contradiction. And with our middle fingers held up high, we say, if you have a problem with us, please write it nicely on a piece of paper, put it in an envelope, fold it up, and shove it up your ass. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
You've been hiding back there.
I was hiding.
You're not anymore, I think.
Damn.
I know.
Well,
Yeah, I wrote your name on the list and I handed you the list. I think you might have even publicized it and
I
stuff.
might have.
Hi, Internet. It's me, Dave. It's a pleasure to see you all again. And I know you're really getting tired of watching me walk up here back and forth and introducing people, but I've decided to introduce a family.
Okay, introducing the internet to a family is sort of like introducing Wisconsin to PBR.
Write it down.
Good night, folks. Because what I got isn't a whole lot better than that. So thank you very much.
Got my entire piece.
How do you follow that? Really, I'm not quite sure. Now I'm looking at this and I'm having some inadequacy problems. But anyway, yeah, tonight we are gathered here today to raise a couple bucks for Planned Parenthood because, you know, you really don't want more people like us out there. And we all know I'm an accident, so we've been over this several times. So to honor Planned Parenthood tonight, I decided to talk about, well, one of my favorite subjects, and, you know, that happens to be cougars, because that's a life goal of mine. I'm still currently on the puma stage. I think cougar might be most of the way to the equivalent, like, of an Eagle Scout. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if being a cougar is an Eagle Scout or if that's the silver fox. So I'm going to have to go look up the canons of perverted older women. But I wanted to tell you about the first real cougar that I ever met, and she was actually at Planned Parenthood wearing the latex gloves, actually. And so a lot of you who have been around me or been to some of these shows know that I'm a divorced woman. I'm actually better friends with my ex-husband now than I was when we were married because I think I don't have to fuck him anymore. And yeah, it really kind of does. But when we were going through the divorce process, I was going through my annual exam that, ladies have to go through for those darn cancer cells. And yeah, moved, yay, yeah. So at the time, I'm sitting here and we're having a conversation with this nurse practitioner. And let me tell you what she's like. She is maybe in her 40s. And she's got this bobbed blonde hair, just poofy, cherubic face. She looks like the house mom from, what's that show with Tootie and the uppity bitch? Yes, Facts of Life. She looks like Mrs. What's-Her-Bucket from the Facts of Life. Yeah, her. Only this woman looks like she may have gotten laid recently, unlike Mrs. Garrett. And she just looks like a house mom from a private school or something like that. And we're having this discussion, and they've got all these posters up. If you've never been to one of the clinics, they've got all these posters up saying, have you been abused? Is there anything you need to talk to us about? And she kind of broaches this topic, say, how's everything going? And being someone informed, I realize that Douglas County is a dirty county. And I don't mean in the good way. I mean in the you need to get a prescription sort of way. And so I said to her, I says, I'm headed towards a divorce. It's a good thing, trust me. But I've heard these scary stories. And what can you tell me about it out there? I know we've got a high percentage of STDs in the county, like nationally ranked high percentage of STDs in the county. So internet?
Woo, number one.
Yeah, woo! Wrap it, internet, seriously. Just saying. Yeah. That's what those restraining orders were about. That's not what they meant by protection in protection order, Mikey. Wrong kind of bullets yet again. Come on, man. But so she looks at me and she says, oh yeah, you know what, I'm glad you mentioned that because it is kind of a deal. And I says, well, what kind of age limits am I looking for? Where's your concentration? Because, facts, numbers, I want to know these things. And she says, well, it's kind of in your younger population. It's between, about 18 to 25. And I'm sitting here doing some math going, that's legal but creepy, so I think I'm okay. Yeah. And I say something that I says, yeah, I don't know that I'm necessarily going to be trolling for those fresh-faced high school kids. And she says, well, that's probably a good idea. And then she gets this pause. And the twinkle in her eye that harkens back to some of those Christmas poems where they're talking about the fat guy looking at the cookie. This is kind of what this woman was looking like. She had this twinkle, and she looks at me and she says, they are kind of fun every now and then. I'm going, you're my hero! What's terrible is a couple of years later, I've been with this particular Planned Parenthood clinic since it's been through 3 locations now since I was a teenager because they've done nothing but treat me with respect and grace and antibiotics. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But no, they have been very, very good to me in that regard, so I continue to patronize them and speak well of them. But a few years later, I was back for another one of my annual sit in the stirrups and try not to cry exams, and she was there, and I told her this story. I said, you know what, this is one of the reasons why I like this particular clinic, because you guys are human, So how often have you been into a doctor's office, and regardless of how personal they are with your body, you just feel like they're robots, they're automatrons, they're just not, yeah. Like you go to the dentist and the oral hygienist are having a conversation about their golf game over you while you're going, This particular place, it was very human. And I said, you told me this story a few years ago, and she got beat red. She's like, no, I was going through a divorce too. I'm like, I understand. That's what they call the whore phase. So if you haven't been, Planned Parenthood, I can't say enough good things about them. And on that note, I'm going to tell you something else on why you should fuck a fat kid or fat girl. And yes,
There is a difference.
yes, there is. Fat kid on cake, fat girl. Okay, yeah, I got it. So I do keep a blog, and I do have some business cards up there that have got some of my contact information, like my Facebook page, my Twitter, and the blog address. So if you're really interested, they haven't been all that funny recently, and I apologize for that. But if you want to catch up, and I keep banging the internet. God damn, I'm tired. I keep banging the internet in front of everybody, and I'm not even getting revenue. Yes, very much so. And, I don't even need my batteries. But,
We'll be at the coach drive through the back door one.
oh, well done.
Look at my grandma too.
That feels extra dirty. That feels extra, I need
Our
a,
standards.
yeah, I know, right? So, without further ado, I'm going to tell you why you should fuck a fat girl. This is, after talking with a friend of mine who's not only found himself in the bed of many a stripper, having been a bouncer at a strip club for some many years, he professed his envy of my creative sex life. And it occurred to me that if you want to get laid right, you gotta fuck a plump girl. And I don't advocate this because I am a size double digit. I advocate it because I think we're better in bed. And you know what? Here's why. America is body obsessed. Trust me, we know what we look like naked. That means we're not going to panic that you can see that one minuscule perfection or imperfection when the lights are on. Or if it's in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon and you called in sick from work. We know that, and we're going to fuck you, throw our ankles over your shoulders, press back into that doggy thrust, grab a handful of skin, fuck you anyway. Ladies with a little extra are less likely to be stereotyped as sex obsessed. So we kind of blend into the population a little better. Talking your lady into wearing either that sexy underwear or even nothing at all under her clothes out in public just might be easier. If you can convince her that nobody will suspect at all, especially. People are going to assume it's that hot blonde, when in reality it's the Zaftig redhead with vibrating panties and a boyfriend with the remote. I've looked into them. Ladies of size have something to grab onto. We're soft and we're warm and we jiggle when we walk and our bodies are full of wonder. They have beautiful nooks and crannies that need to be explored. And having that extra flesh gives you not only that satisfactory sound of a slap on the ass, but the added bonus of that warm backside bending to your strike. True to the stereotype, we're hungry. A round girl doesn't order a salad at dinner because she doesn't have an adversarial relationship with food. She doesn't care if she's judged for liking it either. That appetite and that lack of shame isn't limited to the dinner table. Convince a thick girl that you think she's sexy, and eventually you'll find her inner ravenous palate of lust. Much like her asking, "You gonna eat that?" when you've got something left on your plate, she's more likely to come back for seconds in the bedroom too, or thirds. We indulge because, banging the internet, we indulge because we like it. Svelte women count calories and keep tabs on what they owe under the sheets. It's the voluptuous women of the world that indulge because they want to, and nothing tells them they can't. You spend the night with a girl who has stretch marks because she feels good, because you love how her voice drops a register when she moans and tell you not to fucking stop, because she knows what's making your toes curl, not the fact that she might be your 10 for your bedroom bingo. Not being thin means there's no pressure to conform or to be like everybody else. That lets us have the freedom thin women do when it comes to shopping. They get to pick the items on the sale racks, and we get the pick of the partners who want something more than missionary with the lights out. Plus-size girls are bigger, and I mean that in every way. Our voices, our personalities, our appetites. And I personally don't have the personality to be a stick. And you know what? I don't think I'd have it any other way. So that's what I got for you this evening. If Chris Wigg had been here tonight, I'd have told a story to embarrass him, but them's the shakes. Or the jiggles, you know.
Although Chris will be at the
after we bring in my story.
Oh, good. Sorry, so many references. I'm going to save them for my set. Where was I? Sorry, still in her set. I'll be right back. Okay, here I am. Sorry, the brain locked up. Anyway, our next contestant survived a wonderful road trip and actually made what was a surreal Sunday afternoon in Missouri.
Say it on mic.
Yeah. We by the way, we gave Iowa a brand new PR term to use. Hi, we're Iowa. We're not Missouri. But I discovered something. We did this and I'll be talking about it myself. I think she might mention it too. But I did discover something that even the most surreal, the most bizarre trip with some of everything that just seems to be designed to go wrong rocks when you've got the right company. And one of the people that was the right company is Miss Marlo Mapes.
Oh, I love you too. All right, so I'm doing the freestyle contest tonight also, but there's got to be one combo breaker, so I don't have the physique that Dave and Mikey have. But the other combo breaking attributes tonight is the first time that I'm not going to talk about BDSM or my sex life or how much random stuff. I know. But this week has been a week from hell, just full of ups and downs and just all kinds of crazy shit that I really didn't want to deal with. But out of all of that, I learned 3 things that I think are very important to remember. I learned that my body can be an asshole, timeouts are the best time of the day, and fuck Missouri. So we're gonna start with those. Yeah, it's kind of like banging the internet. I'm trying to refrain though. I think they're good for a little bit after that. So my body can be an asshole. You guys have heard me talk before about my inner snark and how proud I am of her and how she's kind of a separate entity from me. The frustrating part of my past week is that my body is now starting to act separately from me. I've had some medical issues that I've been dealing with, so I've been in and out of doctor's offices, having to do the whole, hey, stirrups and cry thing a couple times too. So I'm at the point where I'm over that. And somehow in the midst of all this chaos, my boobs decided, hey, well, you're busy with other stuff, so we will rebel now. They're getting ridiculous. I'm gonna look like a clown blow-up doll in a couple days. You can have them if you want them. I don't need them anymore.
I had to call an air support tonight, just saying.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, phone me the squirrel on yours, though, so I think you win a couple points for that. But Lauren was talking a little bit about her son, and she and I co-own a daycare together. So my days are full of Lauren and Connor, their son Nicholas, and then 2 7-year-old girls. So I've also learned that timeout is the best part of the day. In between just bickering and fighting and this person's stalking me, this person farted on me, this person's trying to eat the crayons, it just
Dude, that sounds
need
like
a little
my
break.
job.
Yeah.
I work at Help Desk.
Which is sad, but it seems like it'd be true. So Lauren and I have a system that's a smiley chart. If you're good all day, you get a smiley face next to your name for that day. You get 5 in a row and you win the prize of the week. And next week's prize was set for the zoo. So we thought, this is gonna be great. They're gonna be on their best behavior, try to work for it. This is gonna be a fantastic week. We got through Monday, and then the smiley chart ended up on the ground, crumpled in pieces. So after Lauren and I tried every single disciplinary action we could think of, timeouts, taking away toys, having them reflect on their behavior, having them come tell us what happened and why, we decided to do a little experiment. So on Friday, it was the kids' responsibility to cook lunch while we supervised, and Lauren and I were the children. I've never had so much fun eating spaghetti in my life. Like dig in with your hands, get it all over your hair, in your face, spit carrot fountains at each other, have tug-of-war fights over stuff that doesn't belong to us. And the kids the whole time are just standing in the back like, oh God, please make them stop now, please, please, please. I don't like this. It got to the point in the play acting where her son got confused and didn't realize it was a game, so he came and found us crying, you guys, it's not nice to fight, you really have to stop, you don't understand. So then we got Nicholas in on it, and the 3 of us were jumping on the couches, throwing carrots at each other, trying to pour soda down each other's pants, and the girls were so frazzled. So they were like, no, you guys, we worked really, really hard to make lunch, and it took us forever, and you guys were making fun of it, and you didn't eat it, and you guys were bickering all day and fighting over stuff that's not yours. And that's when we broke character and said, okay guys, do you like it when we act like this? No! Don't ever do it again! Can we make a deal then? Because everything that we've done today are things that you've been doing for the past week. So if we can make a deal that you guys will stop those behaviors, we'll stop too. Now how does that sound? The rest of the day, could not hear anything from any direction. There was like self-inflicted timeouts, there was nap time, there were dishes put away and stacked. I had never seen the games more organized than I did that day. And daycare, you know, it's such, I guess, a multifaceted position to work because at one point it's so rewarding and so much fun. The other point, it's just outrageously stressful. But I'm also learning some things there. Like we have watched toddlers and tiaras ad nauseum to the point when I can recite the girls' names, the outfits they wear, the little MO that they have. And I can do some of the poses too. But to give you an idea of the way that the kids are, I was with them by myself for a while and didn't know what to put on to entertain them, so I put on Fraggle Rock. Within the first 30 seconds, the response was, "This show is so dumb! Why are they singing?" I think I felt my heart break during that one, actually. So when you're trying to educate children, you know, you want them to be culturally inspired by things, you want them to be creative, you want them to be intelligent and branch out, and you want them to have self-assertion skills, but not to kind of have a fight over dominance. So we're trying to teach them all these things and different behaviors. The biggest one that we've had trouble with this week is the baby talk. These are 7-year-old girls, and they're in that stage where they're trying to figure out who they really are, and they still want that attention for being cute and young, but they also want to seem intelligent at times. So we're trying to break the baby talk. And we've decided every time that we're asked for a huggy, you're going to get handed a diaper until that behavior stops, because we can't take it anymore. So hopefully that'll even out a little bit, which brings me to the other realization of my week, which would be fuck Missouri. We had a glamour photo shoot yesterday that we scheduled. So we all met up at the T-Smith about 2 o'clock. Everybody was excited, had the outfits on, had the makeup, cute little stuff that we were showing each other with the props, pile into the cars and head out. And I was in the car with Dave and Shelby and Lore, which was the awesome car. Alan was jealous on the way back. We were the car that had the smokers, we had the fruit snacks, we had the ice cream, which I learned that Shelby can demolish a king-size cone in about 1:20. So that was pretty impressive. Like, our conversation ranged everything from the curiosity and new discoveries to last week's bowel habits and how we feel about them, which poor Dave was subject to for a couple hours. So driving, and it's endless and desolate, and then we finally get to Missouri. And our first location was supposed to be an abandoned church. And we had permission from the owner of the property to go in there and shoot, so everybody gets the props out, lights set up, all the equipment ready. And then the owner comes and sees, like, oh, well, there's girls in lingerie, there's prop guns. This is sacrilegious! So we started our day off by getting kicked out of the church. And then had to find somewhere else to shoot, because, you know, to come this far, why turn back now? So we went all the way to Craig, Missouri. Or as I like to call it, well, excuse me for having all of my teethville. The main street had 3 buildings, all connected to themselves. We went into the bar to ask if we could shoot along the properties, if there were any buildings we could get into. And their town is so small that rather than calling a police station to see if we could get a permit, they decided to call the mayor. So the mayor of this town was supposed to come and tell us we could shoot. And in the meantime, we were, you know, going on the playground, just walking around. And another reason why my body is an asshole is that I have an unfortunate habit of losing my hosiery every time I'm around Dave. They just shred to pieces. So today I'm actually, thank you. I'm actually doing pretty well today. I've had these on for a couple hours and they're not ripped yet. So I'm gonna cross fingers and hope that sticks. But the second I get out of the car, sit in the merry-go-round, start shooting pictures, and then I felt this weird pulling sensation over by my butt. Turn, and I realized that in those quick seconds, I had ripped them all the way from my waist down to about my knee in the back. And, oh, thank you. So did you. Then we found this garage that was dilapidated, messy, had exposed beams. One section of it was falling through. broken glass everywhere, nails, tires, just gritty, desolate, awesome. And this was a post-apocalyptic pinup, so we figured that'd be the perfect place for us to go and get some really good pictures. So we're there for probably about 15 minutes, got some good shots, some with prop weapons, having a great time. And then one of the photographers, Scott Cashing In, was just sitting over in the corner by himself, kind of swaying. And I, along with one other person, had medical training, so we stumble over there, realized that Scott has kind of given himself a stigmata with a nail. So he is bleeding profusely just in this entire area. And actually, a picture of the blood would have been gorgeous. It had this great mosaic effect. Would have really fit in with the set, I think. But we finally got that taken care of and then decide, okay, well, we've had everything go wrong today. It's been such a clusterfuck. Let's just pack up and leave. So we get everything together. And then a shiny car shows up with the sheriff emblem on the side. Sheriff gets out of the car, just kind of hangs out. So, what are you guys doing today? We're just shooting some pictures. We had permission from that guy at the bar. Talk to him. Okay, because we got reports of people over here in black clothing that are walking into random buildings. Which, the more that I think about it, those reports must have all been directed at Liz and I, because we were the only two wearing black that day. So I don't know what kind of stuff we caused, but apparently they liked it.
The only place
So-
I knew was the playground. And
Yeah.
What building?
Because you're wearing black.
Oh, God.
So explain it to him, get everyone loaded up back into the car, finally start heading home from this just absolutely ridiculous day. And we realized probably 15 minutes out of the town that everybody was so excited to get the fuck out of there. Even the flies had gone from the building into the car and we're just hanging on for dear life. Like, oh God, please take us with you. So we hung out in the car with the fleas for a little bit, just waiting to get close to home, counting down the miles while we were getting there. And we were so fed up with this entire fucking trip that when we saw the sign welcoming us back into Iowa, we paused the conversation and clapped. Which is a first for me. I've never felt like I should clap for Iowa before. But finally get home, go to Old Chicago, eat our faces off, have a great time. So we turned the night around a little bit, but it was just the perfect highlight to the worst week I've had. Hopefully, though, there'll be some good pictures from it.
Yeah.
So to tie in, this week has been just a myriad of medical bills and procedures and clusterfucks. And my favorite things of this week were the timeouts that we've had with our white trash television nights when the kids finally go home and you can just lounge back with mommy's juice box full of Franzia. And above all things, please remember, fuck Missouri. Thanks. Yeah.
My Allen wrenches are still MIA.
Yeah, that reminds me, people who went to Missouri, did anyone see what happened with the sniper rifles Allen wrenches?
They're probably in the church lot.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll find another set. We have pretty much resolved that we're going to have, after this conversation that we were talking about the trip, that we're going to have a Samurai Road trip, which all of you people in the audience are going to have to listen an awful lot about. It'll kind of,
plan.
yeah. But we also decided that it will not involve the state of Missouri. Some of you are like, there'll be a great thing happening in Kansas City. In Kansas City, we have to go. Is that Kansas City, Missouri? Yeah, fuck you, we're not going. No. I have to point out the Scott Cashin. Yeah, the Scott, yeah, work on that. The Scott Cashin thing, I remember, it's kind of like Rashomon, if you've ever seen that film from Japan. We had like 5 different perspectives on this trip, and everybody's stuff lines up, but we all kind of saw things differently. She saw Scott bouncing around like this. What I saw was Shelby running to my car, and all I could hear from off in the distance was, bandage. And my initial reaction was, fuck. And so she comes up and says, I have this Band-Aid in my purse that I think we should use because apparently Scott stepped on a nail. I'm like, oh, this is not cool. And then I remembered something. Those of you who know me well, and those of you who've caught some of my sets, are aware that I have something of a strange, shall we say, injury history. Apparently the people who sold me my car knew about this and gave me a first aid kit. So immediately I took a look at her bandage and went, that's cool, but hold on. Got out the first aid kit, and then when I arrived, I looked down, and the first thing I see is Scott sitting on a chair, and this guy who used to be a paramedic kind of hovering over him, and there's like 4 or 5 very distinct pools of 5x6, elements of blood on the ground. I'm like, this is not cool. Here, first aid kit. And we got Scott wrapped up, and we kind of got him back, and I heard today that he didn't need stitches, although I'm waiting to find out if he's still going to keep the damn foot, because I don't know what was on those things. But yeah, the trip was surreal, but what I did discover is that it doesn't matter quite what happens on the trip. As long as it doesn't, the other thing that I should point out is that we all realized that we were walking into what is the setup for pretty much every horror movie on Earth. Hey, let's get a bunch of people together and go to a deserted church in the middle of Missouri. What could possibly go right? And I mentioned this to just about everyone to kind of like break that jinx in advance, and yet somehow, it kind of went on. We didn't have the horror film thing happen aside from Scott bleeding all over the fucking place. But I did have 3 people I really ended up enjoying in my car, and as much as I had heard the conversation about, IBS and this, that, and the other thing, trust me, heard worse. We've been talking about Planned Parenthood. My mom worked there for 2 decades. I would like to point out that as an adolescent, what you get is a group of Planned Parenthood nurses sitting down with a couple of bottles of wine at the table, and me at the top of the stairs with a notebook getting one hell of an education. Good idea, bad idea. And I lucked out because I was hitting my adolescence roughly about the same time that herpes and AIDS were hitting the scene. So I was pretty well, scoped out and educated on all of this sort of stuff as it was happening, so that worked out fairly well. And so with that, I'm going to make a very ugly transition into, actually kind of a transition into something I have been noticing, and we've been talking about the people that we know and the things that we see and the experiences that we have. And the one that I've been noticing lately is we've been talking about kids, or we've been talking about the idea of what they might grow into. And I've been seeing that lately, and I realized I'm turning into a middle-aged guy. And I know I'm turning into a middle-aged guy because I work at Metro Community College, among other places. And I keep the AV labs open over there, and I help students a lot of the time with their projects and this and that, and that's cool. I love that. I enjoy the opportunity to sit there and go, hey, you know what, you're doing this thing? All right, let's see if we can make it any better. It'll be kind of cool. I love those students. Those people are amazing, and I enjoy the opportunity to work with them. Those other students, yeah, fuck those people. Allow me to explain why. I was coming back from a cup of coffee, and I'm passing by this classroom, and there's a class letting out. And apparently somebody did not do well on his history test. And what he said was, as I'm passing by, yeah, why should I give a fuck who Jonas Salk is? Oh, good! This is good. Now, I want to just point out, I'm looking at all of you, I'm reasonably certain that most of you here do not or have never had polio. Now we know why. There's a gentleman by the name of Jonas Salk who said, hey, I can create this vaccine. I will spend the time, I will do the research, I will make this vaccine work. And he did, and everybody used it. And here's the best part, he gave the fucking thing away. He did not accept a dime above his salary for this. He basically ended up immunizing billions of people. And if you got like a penny for each person that ended up immunized with this vaccine, you could retire. You could retire you could retire your next generation and the generation after that off of that money. But he was like, even if it's 1 penny, and if it keeps 1 person from being vaccinated, and that means that 1 person gets this horrible, crippling disease, then that's too much money. I got paid a lot of money because I am a doctor as it is. I do not need any more. What the world needs is more of this. Good, and that's the point I want to get to, and that is one of the things that I don't see very much of being reported. It happens all the time, but what we don't see is real greatness being reported anymore. We see flash in the pan greatness being reported all the fucking time. We see it about the hip hop guy, we see it about the football player, we see it about Lady Gaga or whatever. And these are cultural touchstones and all of that, but they are not even getting close to one Jonas Salk. And they're not getting close to any of these sorts of things where people have real, impact on billions of people. And like Alan and I were joking around about this because I was reading something about Chris Brown, who put out a tweet after he won some sort of award. And Chris Brown has had a very bizarre career, mostly based around his singing and then smacking his wife around. And instead of, yeah. and you're coming back. What the fuck's that about? Anyway, but he had this opportunity when he won this award. If it had been me and I had had a really strange sort of year, I would have been like, hey, look, I won this award. Thank you very much for noticing me and for, giving me this opportunity to restart my career. His tweet was something to the effect of, I got this award and all you haters can basically just suck it. I'm like, okay, you missed the boat, man. First of all, you should have gone with the humility train because now you look like a jackass. Again. Second of all, you don't rate that. Jonas Salk rates that. Lady Gaga does not rate that. Jonas Salk rates that. Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin does not rate that. And I am a huge Zeppelin fan. But the people who make the real impacts in our world, we almost never hear anything about. And Alan and I were joking around about doing some kind of skit where we had hip-hop Jonas Salk walking into a classroom going, yo, any little bitches got polio? Yeah, you're welcome and shit. And if you help to keep billions of people from getting a disease, you fucking earned that. Go right ahead. If you sell 1 million records you didn't, sit down, shut the fuck up. And there was another person, and my first real experience kind of tangentially of real greatness. I heard about through an uncle of mine. His name is Padraig. Yes, I'm Irish. I have an uncle named Paddy. I also enjoyed whiskey. Yeah! Yeah! I shouldn't say enjoyed. I'm going to enjoy whiskey the second this sucker's over. Which knows as for my name. Yeah. And Padraig is one of those great characters in life. Everybody has that person in their family who's the dodgy uncle, but not like the guy who felt up the kid, more like the guy who's constantly half a step ahead of the law and a step and a half ahead of the ex-wife or the girlfriend with the positive test. That was Paddy. Paddy was part of the 1919 revolution. He served with a gentleman by the name of Sean McBride. You'll hear this name again. Paddy basically ended up having to, after the Republic was formed and this and that, he had to leave the country on account of some weapons disappearing and some money entering his pocket, and they couldn't prove anything, but it was probably a good idea for him to get the hell out of the country. So he joined the French Foreign Legion, and he's with them for about 10 years, and then he had to bail on France because some diamonds disappeared. And then from there he went, and then from there, yeah, he just happens to have that proximity issue with important stuff. I don't know. And then he went to Australia, joined the Australian Army, because he had a lot of experience that was verifiable, and they were doing their best to keep an eye on him, but God damn it if some gold bullion didn't disappear. And so Paddy was like, later, and finally by that point in time, the charges in the Republic of Ireland were pretty much past the point where they could have ever prosecuted him, and he went back to work for his friend Sean McBride. I should point out that I got the Sean McBride story at the funeral of the person that was really one of the big influences in my life, my grandfather. And he was a former member of the SAS. He's a really just intense kind of guy. And he really had a huge impact on me. And so I went to his funeral in a horrible emotional state and decided it was a great time to blow off a little steam. And this was assisted by the fact that some genius decided what we really need is a whole bunch of Guinness and 2 cases of Bushmills. Yes, I'll take that bottle, it's mine. Sans glass. And so I'm drinking this and I'm drinking this. This is the day that I became an Irish cliche. There is a cousin of mine that we have a relationship that can best be described by a term that comes up in chemistry. That term is hypergolic.
Oh, wow.
Hypergolic is when you basically mix 2 ingredients and they spontaneously combust. You put Darren and I in the same room, it is just a matter of time, often seconds, before we start beating the shit out of each other. And I think he had walked in. By this point in time, the bottle that I was drinking straight from had started about here and was down to about here. And I think he said, hello. And that's when my fist came forward. And things got out of hand real quick. And Darren's ass hit the floor. And so that's when my Uncle Paddy recognizes me and comes walking over and he's like, David, boy, I haven't seen you in fucking decades. And I can tell you, David, because I've heard so much about you. You're like a double fistful of trouble, full of dynamite. And we need to talk. And I'm like, holy shit, Paddy needs to talk to me, and I'm the fistful of dynamite? This can't be good. He said, but here's the thing, boy. This is the thing I've noticed. It's like this. Here's the trouble I always had in my life, and that was the thing that I never had, was the idea of the thing I need to do. But I knew a man who had the thing that he needed to do, and his name was Sean McBride. And I served with Sean. He was the chief of staff in the Irish Republican Army. And Sean ended up, when we won the revolution, He decided that a really good thing for him to do, because he was fighting for a level playing field, he was not fighting to get even, was to get some of his people together and they started patrolling Protestant neighborhoods to keep reprisals from happening. The president of the country, a gentleman by the name of Evan de Valera, decided that that was a bad idea. And they threw Sean in jail for 2 years without benefit of charges. And basically that was 2 years of solitary confinement, which is a long time to sit and think about something. And for the first 6 months he said he was thinking about, I'm gonna get even. And he thought, wait a minute. That's caused every problem we've fucking had in this country for the last 500 years. I need something different. Ireland needs the rule of law. All right, so Sean got out of prison, promptly went out and got himself a law degree, proceeded to start representing all of the people that nobody else would represent. And the next thing you know, he becomes a minister of parliament. And then the Second World War happened. And I'll tell you right now, you couldn't find an Irishman that would have been really happy with Adolf Hitler, but you'd find even fewer yet that wanted to go out and die for the fucking Queen. So he stayed neutral. And so he stayed neutral. And what happened was Sean was invited to a little place called Nuremberg, where he was part of the Defense Council. There are very few thankless jobs in this world. Someone will thank you for doing something. Representing the members of the Nazi Party, you're not going to get thanked for doing. Even more so when this happened. There's a gentleman by the name of Krupp. He ran an arms business. Krupp died toward the tail end of the war, and the Russians wanted to prosecute his 14-year-old son, so that way, and the reasoning was that that the young man would look forward to the opportunity to defend his name. And that's when Sean said, I have an idea. You can prosecute that young man the moment you get out of the hospital. And the Russians said, what? And that's when Sean jumped over a table at him. Then Sean decided that that was his thing. Everybody has basic rights. Everybody has an opportunity to not be thrown in prison for what they believe. Everyone has an opportunity to speak that which they feel is true. And that was what Sean did. He decided he was going to defend those people. Right, wrong, or in between, you're still welcome to a defense. And so he became the first UN Commissioner for Human Rights. He helped co-found a little organization you might have heard called Amnesty International. And then he did something that was so wonderfully epic, is so wonderfully Irish, that I still am in awe of him to this day. He decided that he would take a look at the US nuclear policy and the Russian nuclear policy in the light of real international law. And then he took them to the World Court and sued the shit out of both of them. Proving that even having plans for genocide is against the law. And so he managed to simultaneously embarrass the governments of the two most powerful nations on earth at the same time. And let me tell you, for all the things I've done in my life, I will never, ever top that. And what you need to do, young men, is find that thing you need to do. You've been going around doing this crazy thing and this crazy thing and knocking your cousin out, who I might say looks really, really good unconscious. You've been doing all of this stuff and you have all of this energy, but you've got nothing really good to put it toward. And now I'm kind of putting it to you, young men. Find the thing that you need to do and do it as good as you possibly can. You may not be the best, but goddammit, it will be you doing it. All right, lad, let's go off and get pissed. Thank you very much. Good night.